when it comes to resource, there are two kind of course, hardware is also hard to find. It's very expensive. And also things are changing so rapidly, so fast. Every week something new comes out. And the skill gap is also there. Now, I also want to talk a bit about Mirantis, as well as you folks, the whole open source, OpenStack background. How does that background change the way you think about AI infrastructure, especially now where so many enterprises have started to look at alternative, and there are a lot of open source technologies are there. Actually, I almost every interview I do, no matter who I talk to, it's all about AI and open weight models. Even I run them all locally. They are getting as good as other models. Sometimes you really don't need big models. Small models actually perform much better, and that's where OpenClaw is. Of course, there DeepSeek is there. So much open source. PyTorch is the foundation of everything that is being done there. You folks are doing a lot of work in this way. Talk a bit about how are enterprises looking at alternatives, which gives them much more control, much more flexibility. And of course, when we talk about the whole new cloud, when we talk about the AI sovereignty, that piece starts to play much bigger picture than the whole integrated proprietary stack.
Yeah, I think to start with the first part of your question, it really is the benefit of our experience that allows us to have an informed opinion and have really migrated our capability set and our knowledge into this very robust platform and capability set. And that came from, earning a reputation by helping enterprises run OpenStack at scale, and particularly in industries with complex and performance-intensive infrastructure demands. So we were early adopters of cloud-native technologies. Expanded from OpenStack into Kubernetes, then container orchestration, developer platforms, full lifecycle management. And throughout that evolution, we've remained committed to openness, like operational control, customer choice of technology. And basically, we've extended all of that now to meet the emerging requirements around AI infrastructure with a very key focus on digital sovereignty and modern virtualization. And I think the second part of your question is what companies are aspiring to do is really the dialogue we like to have. We're trying to discuss outcomes with our customers and obviate them from the deep technological education that's required on a daily basis to maintain all of this, not only for the build, the day zero, but the day one and the day two and the day three, operationalizing, optimizing, iterating, and evaluating key components on an ongoing basis. And that's where we built our control plane in Cordant AI to be able to do all of these things simultaneously, as well as being able to extend and manage existing infrastructure like OpenStack and Kubernetes clusters. As you rise to the moment of AI, you need to be able to manage those both effectively. And this is what some of our largest companies come to us for, is that expertise. And the challenges they face are meaningful, right? You're talking about, we manage the majority of the Fortune 1000, some of the biggest companies in the world. And how do they figure out what to do? Well, there's the do-it-yourself. And as I said, some people are able to do that. But we want customers to not have to worry about those pieces of the puzzle. We're going to help walk them through the full life cycle, as we've done previously, from design and architecture to deployment to operations. And with our track record, we've got the credibility and the bona fides to do that, so that we can talk about what you said rightly, is how they're going to use models at the top end, which models and where. And then we've also built into the platform the ability to do the inference routing, so you can make sure about sovereignty and GDPR and security. And, we are kind of the pioneers in that private cloud evolution. So this has given us a very informed capability and this ability to help guide companies to achieve those outcomes through the means of our interactions.
Yeah, nobody can match that scale that OpenStack. We used to cover that, and thousands of cores CERN is running, and square array telescopes, and so much was going on. And that was a interesting phase. Now, you talked about kind of build it yourself by when you look at what enterprises, there is also a difference between what enterprises actually need versus what they want versus what they see everyone else is doing. So they get confused. What are the gaps between what they want to build themselves versus what they're actually capable of building without getting totally bogged down? And in this discussion, we have been emphasizing a lot of on pre-integrated solutions and professional services also, which is also part of Mirantis service to, I think, maintain a balance between giving them the flexibility of using a lot of open source things, but also not worrying about it. Talk a bit about why can't customers just leverage open source tooling and wire it all together? Of course, the complexity comes in. I just want to understand what they can do, but they should not do, and how Mirantis comes to actually help them, because they should focus more on taking advantage on these technologies. There is no business benefit to get stuck with plumbing.
Yeah, the way we look at it, Swapnil, is we are open but opinionated. We have great flexibility, but we have deep experience and some very strong opinions on how you do it. But we want the customer to first and foremost have the flexibility to achieve what they want to do. Now, in order to figure out how we can best map to them, we do pretty intensive assessments, because we're not really just selling software or a platform. We're really building a long-term partnership. And often it's design partnership all the way through to production. And specifically to your question, the AI infrastructure do-it-yourself tax is enormous, and most enterprises are still underestimating it. Assembling a production-grade AI stack means making dozens of interdependent decisions. Which GPU operator, which network fabric, which storage tier, how you handle multi-tenancy, how you expose the environment to data science teams, how you handle day two operations. Each of these is like a 6-month project in and of itself. And companies that try to build it from scratch are committing their best engineers to kind of the guts and the plumbing rather than differentiation. So what we see with Cordon AI is that pre-integration isn't just about convenience. It's about de-risking the whole process. When a customer deploys our stack, the NVIDIA components are certified, the integrations are tested, and our professional service teams have battle-hardened playbooks from real deployments. So the alternative, assembling it yourself, means you own every integration failure, every version conflict, every 3 a.m. incident that's nobody's problem but yours. The real risk isn't the licensing cost or even the time to build. It's that by the time you finish building, the technology has moved on and you're maintaining a deprecated architecture. Pre-integrated platforms let organizations stay current without rebuilding from scratch every 18 months. That's what you're investing in by working with us.